Hi guys, hey, I have a really exciting collaboration I want to share with you. This one is really different than any that I've done before, and it's with Chris Berry, the Idaho painter. Has a huge channel. Many of you probably already know of him. He's got a huge channel and does amazing videos on teaching people's tips and tricks on how to paint, anything that would have to do with painting their house or commercial or anyway, all kinds of tips. You got to check him out, the Idaho painter. He's probably the biggest, from what I've heard, the biggest YouTuber that does tips and tricks on painting. So I did a collaboration with him. I took his logo, and you're going to see that in just a second, and I actually carved two different signs. One of them I actually painted, and you'll see how I did that here in a second, and then the other one I left unfinished for Chris, so I actually did two signs for him. So Chris is coming right up, and then I'm going to come in at the end, but Chris has got some great tips that we all need to learn from as far as finishing for outside. So check this out, and thank you again, Chris.
This is Chris, the Idaho painter. In this video, Eric and I are going to show you how you actually paint a sign like this and clear coat it. Eric's going to show you how to do the complicated process of painting a complicated logo like this. This wasn't easy. Here's the actual unfinished version, and here's the finished version of it. And Eric's got some really cool tips and tricks on painting this thing. And then when it's done painted, I'm going to actually be hanging this thing outside. This is my logo. It's really cool. I'm going to hang it outside. I want it to be protected from the UV sun rays, protected from weather where it gets really cold and then it's damp. So you want to put a product on there that's going to protect it for a lot of years, and you don't want this thing fading and falling apart and getting all checked and cracked. I got a really cool product and a good method of actually treating something like this to make it last a long time. So stay tuned for this video. Eric's going to show you how to paint it, and then I'm going to show you how to clear coat it. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to Eric's channel, you can subscribe to his channel, or you can go visit my channel, also the Idaho Painter, when you're done.
Okay, so we masked off the edge because the edge I want to be black, whereas everything that you see here is going to be red except for this U. Remember, that's going to be black, so I'm going to mask that off too. So let me just get a piece of tape and mask that off. So we'll go ahead and do our red. Now what I'm going to use is the Marsh Spray Stencil ink, and this is the red. Comes in different colors. I've used all the different colors, but red works really well. And we've masked off everything that was red, because now we're going to spray the black, and we don't want any of that black to get into the red. So I'm just going to move this thing around and spray that black, trying to still stay on camera. That's it. All right, so we're going to let this dry, then we'll peel all of that off and see what it looks like, and go on to the next section. All right, so we have, everything's dry now, so I've kind of started to peel up the vinyl here. I'm going to attempt to peel this vinyl off in as few pieces as I can. Okay, I pulled off all of the vinyl, all of the stuff, well, pretty much all of it. I've still got to sand a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and sand this off. I'm just going to use my little 80 grit and then a fine sand after that. And then we got to talk about this a little bit, so let's do it. Okay, so this doesn't look like most of my signs when I get them sanded off. The bottom part does. This stuff is how it normally looks. Now, this is going to be different than any sign that I've done that I can remember, actually. Well, after about a day of practicing, I came to the realization with my lovely assistant that painting ain't my strength. What we're going to attempt to do is, we've got the board, so this has got the finish on it. And so what I am going to do is we actually, well, the last time you saw this just a minute ago, none of these lines were here. And we had, we're going to attempt to paint this whole thing and bring the white right on the edge of the blue. But what I'm going to do now, what I'm going to attempt to do, is I'm going to actually carve out all of this. Is all going to be inset, and then I'm going to spray it blue. I'm going to carve this all inset where those lines, inside those lines, spray that white, sand it off, and see how it comes out. All right, so we have all of the carving done, theoretically, hopefully. Now what I'm going to do is mask off all of the red, because I'm going to be spraying all of these grooves. I'm going to be spraying these blue and these white. So I'm going to do the blue first, and I've got to mask off all of this. So I've got to, you know, cut my little pieces of masking tape to make absolutely sure that they're going to cover all of the red. Alright, so I have masked off the entire sign except for what I want to be blue. Took some time, but I got it done. Anyway, so I'm going to spray this blue, and then after that, then I got to pull this off, and I got to mask off everything that that I don't want to be white, because I'm going to spray that white primer, and I'll show you that here in a second. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to pull all that tape off. I'm going to mask off everything except for what I'm going to spray white, which is going to be those painter letters. And then once that dries, we'll come back and we'll sand this thing off. So, all right, so we have done all of our color inside. I did masking couple different times. It was kind of time consuming masking off these little red pieces in there so the white didn't get in there. Now we just have kind of a sand to get off that little bit of left. And you can see the ink, the spray ink that I used actually was a pretty nice match for the blue on there. So I think it's gonna work out. Let's just go ahead and sand this thing and see where we're at. In fact, I'll turn it the other way. The last step is I've got to do the black highlight like around the red. So what I've done is take a little mechanical pencil, and I've kind of drawn where I want that black to be. Everything inside of this line is going to be black. So all I'm using for this, guys, I'm going to turn this around and actually do some more on camera. I'll put my cheaters on. All I'm using is a fine tip Sharpie, and that will give me my
So now that Eric's got this sign all painted, now we're going to walk you through the clear coating process to get this thing protected for outdoors or indoors use. Just a couple simple tools you'll need to actually clear coat this thing. One of them is just a paintbrush for a water-based product. I've got a painter's 5-in-1 tool just to open up my product that I'm using. And the product we're going to be using, this is the best stuff I've ever found to put on wood to protect it outside. And it's a product called ZARs right here, or ZAR, Z-A-R. And this is an exterior water-based polyurethane product. And now we're going to discuss this product a little bit and show you how we actually go about clear coating it. So I'm going to give you some of the characteristics about this ZAR polyurethane right here that we like and why we like to use it. It's a water-based polyurethane product, and it's excellent for using outdoors. We use it on doors, furniture, anything wood that we want a clear coat or clear finish on it. And I do like one of the characteristics of it, that it's water-based. It makes it just easy to deal with and easy to clean up. It's got superior UV protection, so the colors on this sign, all these colors, it's going to keep them from fading like any other product would. It's very flexible, so a lot of varnishes in extreme weather, it's going to get brittle and crack. This stuff is not going to get brittle and crack because it's flexible. It dries extremely fast, so we can recoat it within a couple hours. and it resists really harsh temperatures and weather. Up here it's actually been 20 below in the winter up here this year. It gets really cold. There's a lot of moisture up here where I live, so this harsh weather, it protects wood and it protects it really good in this type of climate and temperature. So you're going to take this wood sign that was made. It's a really nice sign. You want to protect it. You're going to put it outside, and you want to get something on there that's going to protect your investment. But also indoors, I would, even if it's not going to be out in the harsh weather and stuff, I would just want a really good product on my wood project that I was painting indoors, and it's an excellent product. Now we're going to talk about a little bit of the process of actually coating this thing and how you actually would coat it so it's going to last the longest. So one of the methods of actually coating one of these signs, you could actually just go get a spray can and spray it with, say, like a spray-on polyurethane finish or a spray-on varnish, and that's the easiest way to do it. But wood has a lot of like little grooves and pores in it, and doing a spray-on finish, it's actually not forcing your finish down into those grooves and pores, which won't bridge those gaps of those pores. So if you put it outside, it's not going to be protected as well as if you do a process of actually back rolling it or back brushing it, where you're forcing it into those pores, where you're going to just get a better bond, you're going to get better penetration of the product into your wood. So when I actually do a project like this, I'm going to actually brush it on or roll it on. On a project like this, I'm going to use a brush. We're just going to be brushing our product on. So once again, it's just going to force the penetration. It's going to get in there. It's going to throw a heavier coat on this thing versus just a spray can. If you took a spray can and just sprayed multiple coats on it, it's still never going to bridge those gaps of those little tiny pores in the wood. So you want to get it deep down into the fibers. You want to force it and back brush it back in. And then another thing is you also want to do the back of the sign. So here, this back of the sign, Eric's got his logo stamped right on here. If you're going to be hanging this thing or mounting it outside, the back of this thing needs to be protected as well as the front. So I'm going to take and I'm going to brush my first coat on the back. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to brush a second coat, and then I'm going to be able to set that down onto something and begin working on the top. And then to put 2 coats on the bottom, 2 coats on the top, and then I'll look at it in the lighting and see if it's got a real nice even sheen, it's consistent, and it's completely soaked into the wood. There's no dry spots, and then my sign would be done. So I'm going to show you how we go about brushing it now. So the first sign I'm going to do is just the back of this, and I'm just going to be brushing on a coat. I'm just going to brush it on there. I want to get a nice, good, heavy coat on here. I'm going to brush the back of it, and then I'm going to brush the sides. We're going to let that dry and then brush on another coat. But I'm going to just get it on this whole thing real quick, and then I'll do my brush layout from end to end. So if I can look in the lighting and I can see where I've put it on and where I haven't put it on. And you can see it actually soaking in. So I can see now that this thing is looking in the right lighting. I can see it's all evenly coating. Now I'm just going to lay out my brush strokes from end to end. Trying to get it on my sides too here. Just want to make sure this thing is, completely protected, completely sealed. So now I got my first coat applied. It's dry, and we're going to apply our second coat. Since this is actually a piece of wood, and it's a bare piece of wood other than the parts that were dyed, like on the other side, the colors. If it's bare, what you do want to do is put 3 coats on it if it's going to go outside. If it's going to go inside, you would actually have only 2 coats. So I'm going to apply 3 coats to the back of this thing, and then I'm going to flip it over and begin my 3-coat process on the other side, because this side is actually going outside. So I got my 3 coats on the other side. It's all dry. Now I'm beginning the process of brushing the top of it. And now I'm just going to take, and you want to make sure you work it down into these grooves. So you want to make sure you have a nice soft bristle brush that you can just brush this thing with. I'm going to be brushing all the edges all the sides. Want to make sure this thing gets completely coated. So you want to have nice, good lighting where you can look and see to make sure what is actually coated and what isn't. So got some good lighting, so you want to just work it down into all these routed edges and routed grooves and stuff that Eric's got on here. You want to get this thing completely protected. So I'm going to work it down inside here really, really well. And once again, this process is a little more difficult than spraying it, a little more time consuming, but this is what's going to make this sign last for a lot of years. It's going to hold its color. It's not going to split, crack, and check. So I'm just going to take the time to really coat my project really, really well. Just continuing to work it down here in these grooves. A lot of little pockets and stuff down here that we just gotta force it into. Once I get it all worked down inside of all the routed edges, all the grooves, then I can do my layout over the top and just brush it from end to end. But I'm still looking to make sure there's no missed spots. Make sure my edges don't get any runs on the edges here. So I got my third coat all applied here. This thing's gonna be well protected for exterior use now in harsh climates. Hopefully you can see it's all nice and shiny and beautiful. This water-based polyurethane is gonna protect these colors, keep them from fading for a long time, keep this thing from splitting and checking, and it's just gonna last a long time because it's protected well. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to watch more videos on Eric's channel, Old Dave 100, and don't forget you can come visit my channel, The Idaho Painter, if you want more tips and tricks painting small projects or anything around your house.
All right, so that is the video that Chris and I collaborated on. Chris, thank you so much for the tips on what to use on an exterior finish. I'm definitely going to get some of that stuff. Water-based, I love it. So I'm definitely going to get that. So I suggest all my guys check that stuff out. I'm going to get some and try it. Thanks so much again, Chris. He's got a great channel, so go and check his channel out and subscribe to him, The Idaho Painter. And I so appreciate all of the collaboration with you, Chris. And again, thanks for the great tips. And we will see. I hope this was informational for you. We'll see you guys next time. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe to my channel and then, of course, of Chris's channel, The Idaho Painter. Thanks again, guys. Have a great one. We'll see you on the next one.